The massive observation ship hung silently in space, hidden behind Earth's moon. Inside, Master K stood before the giant viewing screen. His 4 eyes narrowed as he watched the blue planet spin slowly beneath them. 50 years of watching these humans, and he still couldn't understand why the Galactic Council insisted on such lengthy observation periods. Another primitive species playing with basic technology, he muttered, adjusting his robes. The gesture made his silver skin shimmer under the soft lights of the command center. They haven't even established proper colonies on their neighboring planets yet. Dr. Blue, his young assistant, looked up from her datapad. Her antennae twitched with excitement as she sorted through the latest readings. Master K, you might want to look at these behavior patterns. They don't match any of our previous studies. All species show slight variations. Dr. Blue, that's hardly worth noting. Master K waved one of his hands dismissively. He had discovered 17 primitive species during his career, and they all followed the same basic development patterns. Humans would be no different. But Dr. Blue persisted. She pulled up a holographic display showing side-by-side comparisons. Look at how they respond to failures. When their flying machines didn't work, they didn't just try the same thing over and over like the Centaurians did. They completely changed their approach multiple times until they found something that worked. Master K finally turned away from the viewing screen. And that just shows their inefficiency. A proper species would calculate the correct solution first, then implement it. But that's just it, Dr. Blue said, her voice rising with enthusiasm. They seem to learn more from their failures than their successes. Look at this data from their recent space programs. 3 different nations tried 3 different approaches. They all failed in different ways, but then they shared their failure data and created something better. The senior researcher walked over to examine the holographic display. His expression remained skeptical, but he studied the numbers carefully. Interesting pattern, but ultimately meaningless. Their technology is still centuries behind the galactic standard. They waste resources, time, and lives with their trial and error approach. A soft alarm chimed through the command center. One of the junior researchers called out, Master K were detecting unusual activity in their global communication network. They're discussing theoretical concepts that shouldn't be possible at their development stage. Dr. Blue rushed to the new display. Her antennae stretched forward in surprise as she read the data. They're openly sharing complex theories about space-time manipulation in something they call social media. Hundreds of thousands of them are discussing and building on each other's ideas. Some of them aren't even scientists. They're artists, writers, and ordinary workers. Impossible, Master K declared. No species discusses advanced theoretical concepts before achieving practical application. Check your instruments. The instruments are working perfectly, Dr. Blue insisted. And look at this. They're not just discussing theories. They're creating stories about them, making art about them. They're imagining possibilities before they can even test them. Master K's silver skin darkened slightly, a sign of annoyance among his species. That's exactly why they're still primitive. They waste time on imagination when they should focus on practical development. The Council's assessment protocols are clear. A species must show proper development patterns to be considered for contact. Dr. Blue watched the data streams flowing across her screen. Something about these humans fascinated her. They didn't follow any of the expected patterns, yet they kept advancing. Slowly, yes, but in unexpected ways. She made a decision. Master K, she said carefully, I request permission to start a detailed study of their problem-solving methods. There might be something we're missing. The senior researcher stared at Earth for a long moment. Very well, he finally said. But don't expect to find anything significant. Some species simply take longer to develop properly. As Master K left the command center, Dr. Blue turned back to her instruments. She had a feeling these humans were going to surprise them all. She just needed to figure out how to prove it. Tom Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished fixing the broken air conditioning unit. Another normal day at the factory, or so he thought. He picked up his tools, ready to head home after a long shift. That's when everything changed. A bright blue light filled his vision, and the solid floor beneath his feet disappeared. Tom's stomach lurched as he felt himself floating. Before he could even shout, the light faded, and he found himself in a strange room with metallic walls that seemed to glow from within. "Subject secured," a calm voice announced. "Beginning standard intelligence assessment." Tom spun around, his tool belt still hanging from his waist. He saw tall, silver-skinned creatures watching him from behind what looked like glass. Their 4 eyes blinked at different times, and their long fingers moved quickly over glowing panels. "Now, human," one of them spoke in perfect English. "Please remain calm. You have been selected for routine testing. I am Master K, lead researcher for the Galactic Council." Tom looked down at his hands, then at the aliens, then at his tools. Instead of panicking, he did something that made Dr. Blue's antennae twitch with interest. He started asking questions. "Are you sure your testing room is set up right?" Tom asked, gesturing at the strange symbols floating in the air around him. "Because if those are supposed to be measuring my vital signs, they're showing them backwards. The numbers are increasing when they should be decreasing." Master K turned to his assistants in surprise. "How does this maintenance worker understand our biological monitoring systems?" "I fix things for a living," Tom explained, shrugging. "Numbers going the wrong way usually mean something's not hooked up right, like when an AC unit's pressure gauge reads backwards because someone crossed the wires." Dr. Blue quickly checked the systems and found a minor calibration error in their equipment. No test subject had ever noticed this before. They usually just accepted whatever was presented to them. "Fascinating," she whispered. "He's right. And instead of being afraid, he's trying to help us fix our equipment." Master K seemed less impressed. "Begin the standard intelligence test," he ordered. "Let's see how well he handles actual challenges." The air in front of Tom filled with complex three-dimensional puzzles. Most species took hours to understand even the basic concepts. Tom stared at them for a moment, then pulled a small mirror from his tool belt. "Mind if I use this?" he asked. "These puzzles remind me of the time I had to fix a machine by looking at its parts through a mirror because I couldn't reach behind it." The aliens watched in stunned silence as Tom used the mirror to solve puzzles designed to test advanced spatial reasoning. He didn't get every answer right, but his approach was completely different from anything they had seen before. "This is not possible," Master K muttered. "He's not following any of the standard problem-solving protocols. He's not even trying to learn the proper methods." "Maybe that's exactly what makes it interesting," Dr. Blue replied, furiously taking notes. "He's using tools and experiences from his own life to find new solutions." As the tests continued, Tom kept surprising them. When faced with a logic puzzle that had no solution, instead of giving up like most subjects, he suggested 3 different ways to change the puzzle itself to make it solvable. "You know," he said, wiping his hands on his work pants, "these tests remind me of the safety regulations at work. Sometimes you have to think about why the rules exist before you can figure out the best way to follow them." Dr. Blue's excitement grew with each unexpected response. This human wasn't just taking their tests, he was helping them improve them. Master K, however, seemed increasingly troubled by the unorthodox results. "Prepare the advanced testing chamber," Master K finally ordered. "Let's see how he handles real challenges." His tone suggested he expected, perhaps even hoped, that Tom would finally fail in a more conventional way. The advanced testing chamber looked like something from a science fiction movie. Strange machines lined the walls, and the floor seemed to shift and change with each step Tom took. But instead of being overwhelmed, he walked around the room, studying everything with the same careful attention he gave to broken machines at work. "These power cables look overloaded," he said, pointing at glowing lines running along the ceiling. "We had the same problem at the factory last year. Had to rewire the whole assembly line." Master K's silver skin rippled with frustration. "The subject will please focus on the testing protocols, not our equipment." Dr. Blue, however, made a quick note about the power readings. Tom was right again. The systems were running at 98% capacity, well above recommended levels. "Begin sequence alpha," Master K commanded. A complex hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing what looked like a giant machine with thousands of moving parts. "Your task is to identify the most efficient way to optimize this stellar energy collector," Master K explained. "Most advanced species take approximately 4 hours to find a correct solution." Tom walked around the hologram, scratching his chin. "Mind if I ask why you want to optimize it?" The question caught the aliens off guard. No test subject had ever asked about the purpose before. They always just started working on the optimization problem immediately. "The purpose is irrelevant," Master K said firmly. "The task is to increase efficiency by at least 40%. "Well, see, that's the thing," Tom said, pulling out his tablet from his tool belt. "In my job, we learned that sometimes making something more efficient actually makes it worse at what it's supposed to do. Like when they tried to speed up our assembly line. Looked great on paper, but the products kept jamming because they needed more cooling time between stations." Dr. Blue's antennae stretched forward with interest. "What are you suggesting?" Tom held up his tablet, which he'd been using to sketch some ideas. "If this is collecting energy from a star, maybe the problem isn't the efficiency. Maybe it's collecting too much energy too fast. Look at these stress points here and here." He pointed to parts of the hologram. "They're showing signs of heat fatigue, just like our overworked machines do." The room fell silent. Master K stared at the hologram, then at Tom, then at the tablet with its simple drawings. That's not the point of the test," Master K finally said. "The goal is to optimize the efficiency." "But what if the goal is wrong?" Tom asked. "In maintenance, we learn pretty quick that fixing the wrong problem just makes things worse. Sometimes you have to step back and ask if you're even looking at the right thing." Dr. Blue could barely contain her excitement. "He's right. Look at these readings from actual stellar collectors in the field. The ones running at lower efficiency have significantly longer operational lifespans." Master K's skin darkened to a deep gray. "This is unacceptable. The test parameters are clear. We must have quantifiable results based on standard metrics." "Speaking of metrics," Tom said, still studying the hologram, "has anyone ever tested these collectors near different types of stars? Because the stress patterns look different depending on where you put them." Dr. Blue quickly pulled up more data. No, we haven't. We've been using the same optimization protocols for all stellar types." Her voice trembled with the implications. "We never thought to adapt the collectors to different environments." "Enough," Master K declared. "This human is corrupting the entire testing process with irrelevant questions and impractical suggestions." But even as he spoke, other researchers in the room were frantically reviewing their data, finding more and more examples where their standardized approaches had overlooked simple but crucial variables. Tom just shrugged and continued sketching on his tablet. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to make sure you're solving the right problem in the first place. A deep rumble shook the testing chamber, making the hologram flicker. Tom looked up from his tablet, his maintenance worker instincts immediately alert to the unusual vibration. "That's not right," he said, putting his tablet away. "Sounds like a bearing about to fail. Big one, too." Master K dismissed his concern with a wave of his hand. "Impossible. Our systems are perfect. They operate according to precisely calculated parameters." Another shake ran through the station, stronger this time. Red lights began flashing across the control panels, and a soft alarm started beeping. "Emergency protocols initiated," announced the station's computer. "All personnel please follow standard evacuation procedures." The alien researchers immediately started following their emergency protocols, moving in perfectly coordinated patterns. But as they followed their procedures, something strange happened. They got stuck in a loop. "We cannot proceed to Emergency Station Alpha until Section 7 is cleared," one researcher announced. Section 7 cannot be cleared until the backup systems are online, another replied. Backup systems cannot be activated until emergency station Alpha is manned, a third added. Dr. Blue's antennae drooped with worry. The protocols. They're creating a deadlock. We can't proceed because each step requires another step to be completed first. Tom watched the chaos unfold, then reached for his tool belt. "Where's your main power core?" he asked. "That vibration is getting worse, and it's coming from below us. Unauthorized personnel are not permitted in the power section during emergencies," Master K stated firmly, even as the station shook again. "We must follow proper procedures." The rumbling grew louder. Tom looked around at the gridlocked aliens, then at his tools, then at the floor panels beneath his feet. He made a decision. "Sometimes you have to work around the rules to get the job done," he muttered, pulling out a multi-tool from his belt. With quick movements, he pried up one of the floor panels, revealing a maintenance tunnel below. "Stop him," Master K ordered, but another violent shake knocked several researchers off their feet. The lights flickered ominously. Tom lowered himself into the tunnel, using his phone as a flashlight. The rumbling was definitely louder down here. He crawled through the narrow space, following the sound and vibration just like he did when tracking down problems at the factory. "Warning," the computer announced. "Power core containment failing in 3 minutes." Dr. Blue's voice came through some kind of speaker system. "Tom, the power core is going to breach. The safety protocols aren't working. We can't shut it down properly because the emergency systems are deadlocked." "Yeah, I figured it was something like that," Tom replied, still crawling. "Had a similar problem with our backup generators once. Sometimes the safeguards get in their own way." He reached a junction where the vibration was strongest. The walls here were hot to the touch, and a high-pitched whine cut through the rumbling. Using his phone, he took a quick video of the equipment and studied it. "Okay, it's not pretty, but I think I know how to fix this," he called out. "But you're not going to like it. We need to trigger a controlled overload in the secondary systems. That's completely against all safety protocols." Master K's voice sounded horrified. "Power core breach in 2 minutes," the computer reminded them. "Look," Tom explained, pulling tools from his belt. "Sometimes you have to break something small to prevent something big from breaking. Like letting a little pressure out of a pipe before the whole thing bursts." Dr. Blue's voice came through again, excited despite the crisis. "He's right. A controlled overload would reset the safety protocols, but our procedures don't allow for intentional system damage." Another violent shake ran through the station. Warning lights started flashing faster. "Well," Tom said, already starting to work on the power conduits, "sometimes you have to trust common sense more than rulebooks." The station's emergency lights cast strange shadows as Tom worked quickly in the maintenance tunnel. His hands moved steadily despite the increasing heat and vibration. Years of fixing machines under pressure had taught him to stay calm when things got bad. "Power core breach in 60 seconds, the computer announced calmly. "Tom, whatever you're going to do it fast." Dr. Blue's voice crackled through the speaker. Above, the aliens were still stuck in their safety protocols, unable to adapt to the unexpected situation. "Almost there," Tom muttered, connecting 2 different power cables using his insulated tools. "This reminds me of the time we had to bypass the factory's main circuit breaker during a thunderstorm. Sometimes you have to break the rules to prevent a disaster." Master K's voice cut through the chaos. "This is unacceptable. No unauthorized repairs. The system must be shut down according to proper procedures. Power core breach in 30 seconds. Tom wiped sweat from his forehead and made the final connection. "Okay, everyone hold on to something. This is going to get bumpy." The lights flickered wildly as electricity surged through Tom's makeshift bypass. For a moment, everything went dark. Then a series of small, controlled explosions rippled through the secondary systems. The main power core's dangerous rumble began to quiet. "Power core stabilizing," the computer announced. "Emergency protocols reset. Danger level decreasing. Tom climbed back out of the maintenance tunnel, his work clothes covered in dirt and oil. The alien researchers stared at him in silence, their four eyes blinking in different patterns. Dr. Blue rushed forward, her antennae quivering with excitement. How did you know that would work? The safety systems were designed to prevent any such unauthorized modifications. That's exactly why it worked, Tom explained, putting his tools away. Sometimes safety systems can get too safe, if you know what I mean. Like when a machine shuts itself down to prevent damage, but that shutdown would cause even bigger problems. Master K approached slowly, his silver skin shifting through various shades of gray. You deliberately damaged station equipment. You violated 17 different safety protocols. You ignored direct orders to stop. He paused, his tone changing slightly. And in doing so, you prevented a catastrophic core breach that our perfect procedures could not handle. Dr. Blue was already reviewing the station's data logs. Look at this. The way he connected the systems. It's completely wrong according to our engineering principles, but it created a feedback loop that stabilized the core. It's beautiful in its wrongness. Other researchers gathered around her screens, their antennae twitching as they studied the readings. Tom's solution broke every rule in their books, but it had worked better than their approved procedures ever could. I don't understand, Master K said, staring at the maintenance worker. How can doing everything wrong produce a right result? Tom shrugged, checking his tools for damage. Sometimes the wrong way is right because it fits the actual problem, not just the rules about the problem. In maintenance, we learn pretty quick that real-world situations don't always match what's in the manual. Dr. Blue's excitement grew as she analyzed more data. This is incredible. The human's approach. It's not just different. It's fundamentally changing how we understand our own systems. Look at these efficiency readings. The incorrect connections he made are actually optimizing power flow in ways our standard procedures never considered. Master K stood silently, watching as his fellow researchers excitedly discussed the implications of Tom's unorthodox repair job. His perfectly ordered world of protocols and procedures had just been turned upside down by a human maintenance worker who didn't know enough to follow the rules. Perhaps, he finally said, his voice quiet, we need to reconsider what we mean by correct and incorrect approaches. News of the power core incident spread quickly through the station. Alien researchers from different departments came to study Tom's improvised repair work, their antennae twitching with a mixture of confusion and curiosity. The human maintenance worker had solved a problem that shouldn't have been solvable, using methods that shouldn't have worked. The Galactic Council's Research Oversight Committee called an emergency meeting. Tom stood in the center of a large circular room, still wearing his dirty work clothes and tool belt, while dozens of alien officials looked down at him from elevated seats. This is unprecedented, announced the head counselor, her silver skin shimmering with bands of light. No species has ever modified our technology in such a creative manner. Dr. Blue stepped forward, holding up her datapad. Council members, I believe this proves what I've been trying to show in my research. Humans don't just think differently. They think in ways we haven't even considered possible. But they're so primitive, protested one council member. They haven't even mastered basic interstellar travel. Tom cleared his throat. Maybe I can help explain. It's kind of like when my nephew plays with building blocks. He makes things that don't look right to adults, but sometimes his crazy towers stand up better than the ones built correctly. The council chamber fell silent. The idea that a child's play could relate to advanced technology seemed absurd to them. But Dr. Blue's antennae stretched forward with excitement. Exactly, she exclaimed. Humans aren't bound by knowing the right way to do things. They try new approaches because they don't know they're supposed to be impossible. Master K, standing to the side, spoke up. I must admit, my initial assessment of humans was flawed. Their seeming primitive nature might actually be their greatest strength. The head counselor leaned forward. Explain. When the power core was failing, Master K continued. Our perfect protocols created a perfect deadlock. But this human, he gestured at Tom, saw the problem with fresh eyes. He wasn't trapped by knowing all the rules and regulations. He just saw a machine that needed fixing. That's right, Tom added. Sometimes knowing too much about how something is supposed to work keeps you from seeing how it could work better. Another council member's antennae twitched nervously. Are you suggesting we should abandon our established protocols? No, Dr. Blue answered quickly. But perhaps we should learn from humans how to think beyond them when necessary. Look at these test results. In every scenario, humans found solutions we never considered, not because they're smarter, but because they're willing to try things that seem wrong. Tom nodded. In maintenance, we call it thinking outside the box. Sometimes the best solution isn't in any manual. The head counselor stood, her robes flowing with the movement. This requires further study. We will convene a special research team to explore human problem-solving methods. Dr. Blue will lead the project. If I may suggest something, Tom asked politely. The council members stared at him in surprise. Test subjects weren't supposed to make suggestions to the council. Proceed, the head counselor said after a moment's hesitation. Instead of just studying how humans solve problems, why not give us some real problems to solve? The kind you haven't found solutions for yet. Let us show you what we can do when we really try. The chamber erupted in murmured discussions. Give unsolved problems to a primitive species. It was unheard of. Yet, after what they had seen, an interesting proposal, the head counselor finally said, perhaps it is time to test our own ability to think differently. She turned to address the full council, all in favor of establishing a joint human-alien problem-solving initiative. One by one, the council members' hands raised, their silver skin glowing with various colors of uncertainty and curiosity. They were about to try something that had never been done before, and that, they were beginning to realize, might be exactly what they needed. 3 months after the power core incident, the observation station had changed dramatically. Where once there were only alien researchers following strict protocols, now there were humans from all walks of life working alongside them. Engineers, artists, teachers, chefs, and even children had been brought in to help solve problems that had stumped the galaxy's greatest minds for centuries. Tom stood with Dr. Blue, watching through a large window as a group of human children played with alien technology in ways no one had ever considered before. Look at that, Dr. Blue said, her antennae vibrating with excitement. They turned the gravity control panel into a musical instrument. It's completely wrong, but the sound waves are actually improving the gravity field stability. Tom smiled, adjusting his tool belt. He'd been offered newer, more advanced tools, but he preferred his old familiar ones. Kids are good at that kind of thing. They don't know what's impossible yet, so they try everything. Master K approached them, his silver skin now showing patterns that indicated a mix of amusement and understanding. A new emotional display he had learned from studying humans. We have received the latest results from the Galactic Council's review board, he announced. They are surprising. Good surprising or bad surprising? Tom asked. Both, in a way that only humans could manage, Master K replied. Your species has solved 12 previously unsolvable problems in the past 3 months. But more importantly, you've shown us that our definition of solved was too narrow. Dr. Blue pulled up a holographic display showing various human innovations. Look at this. A human chef figured out how to fix our food synthesizers by treating them like faulty cooking equipment. A human artist found a way to improve our camouflage technology by thinking about color theory. A human child solved a quantum computing problem by comparing it to a playground game. We thought we were testing humans, Master K admitted. Instead, humans have been teaching us. Your species' greatest strength isn't your technology or your intelligence. It's your ability to see things differently. Tom watched as more humans arrived through the station's transport system. Each brought their own unique way of looking at problems, their own experiences to draw from. The Council has made a decision, Master K continued. Earth will be offered a special position in the galactic community. Not as a primitive species to be studied, but as teachers of innovation. Teachers? Tom asked, surprised. But we're centuries behind you in technology. Dr. Blue's antennae wiggled with joy. That's exactly why you're perfect. You show us new ways to think about old problems. Your species hasn't learned to be bound by impossible yet. Every human we bring up here sees our technology with fresh eyes and finds new ways to use it. Think of it this way, Master K added, showing a new understanding that would have been impossible for him 3 months ago. We advanced species became so focused on climbing the ladder of progress that we forgot there might be other ways to move forward. Humans remind us to look around, not just up. Through the window, they watched as human engineers worked with alien scientists. Maintenance workers shared jokes with advanced AI systems, and children taught ancient races how to play with technology instead of just using it. So that's what makes humans truly exceptional, Tom said thoughtfully. Not that we're smarter or stronger, but that you're willing to be wrong, Dr. Blue finished. To try the impossible, to break rules that need breaking, to see solutions where we see only problems. Master K nodded, his skin glowing with new patterns of respect. Your species may be young, but you have taught us something invaluable. That true advancement comes not from following the perfect path, but from being willing to forge new ones. Outside the window, Earth spun peacefully, no longer a primitive world to be studied, but a cradle of innovation that would help guide the galaxy into a new era of discovery and growth.